Hi, welcome back. With Fugue dropping exactly a week from now, we are starting to see more and more creator experience server videos pop up as usual in this period. I already spoke about Fugue more than a couple of times this month, but we're gonna talk about her one more time before she comes out. At least one more time. So in my first video about her this month, I talked about how she was a pretty pointless unit, and while I still do believe her most obvious role, which is replacing Harmony MC, is pretty useless still, she's obviously going to be more than that. I did talk about it a little bit in that video, but I obviously didn't emphasize it enough. I tapped into it some more in my second video, which talked about her a little, which is of course yesterday's video, the 3.0 tier list. When looking at Fugue skits some more, and watching some other CCs talk about her as well, and just today when Waveman uploaded a video about some untapped potential when it comes to some parts of some characters' skits, obviously, all that gave me the inspiration for this video. Honkai Star Rail very obviously needs some more niche playstyles, so let's talk about them. Before we start, you should like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and join the Express Rain Discord server for a community filled with discussions just like this one. Let me know your thoughts about this subject in the comments below. As usual, I'm going to be reading every comment because I don't get that many. I'd appreciate it if you would put a comment down there with your thoughts so I could get some extra engagement on this video. Now let's get on to it. Honkai Star Rail has a few different playstyles when it comes to DPS units and team comps. As we know, those are DOT, Hypercarry, FUA, and Super Break. Or Break if you want to include Boot Hill there too. However, as is obvious with this video, I think we need some more and I have some ideas. Now let's talk a little bit about Genshin Impact. I know, you know, I think this game is absolute garbage. While that is definitely an exaggeration because it is also most definitely better than most gacha games out there in terms of quality, it just has so much potential it hasn't capitalized on, and it kept ignoring the wants of the player base for so long that most of us are left bitter and resentful of this game. Its endgame is completely stagnant, and even when they added a new endgame mode, it turned out to be so bad because of how they restrict usage of some units and thus force you to use certain playstyles, and thus completely negate the really positive thing I actually wanted to talk about when it comes to Genshin. This game does one thing pretty damn well, and that is creating some pretty unique character kits that make so many different niches. It's not enough to make it fun, but it is definitely pretty unique. The elemental reaction system is such a good foundation for a game that it does allow you to create some really cool stuff. However, when making niche kits, you run the risk of making some niches too niche. Last time I checked, Geo in Genshin was pretty much dead. I guess just like DOT is in Honkai. However, I'm not sure if Zillion or Chiori made it mainstream again, but either way, the risk I'm talking about is still there. The fact Honkai Star Rail is turn-based also allows it to make up literally any word it wants to in a character's kit, assign it a certain amount of damage, and call it a niche meta. Super Break is one such niche meta that is honestly a great example when you look at it on the surface. If it wasn't way too accessible and broken, it would have been perfect, but it has a nice set of rules that are easy to understand and grasp, that don't make it so niche you'll barely use it anywhere. In fact, you can use Super Break literally everywhere where there are no enemies that are immune to being broken. Again, I just really wish it was handled better. So where does Fugue come in all of this? Well, quite simply, it's just that her exo toughness is really damn cool. Of course, we already know she's going to be insane with Himiko, completely reviving her, making her pretty powerful against all fire-weak enemies, or even non-fire-weak enemies if you're using Ruan Mei as well, to get some extra resistance penetration and weakness break efficiency. And Fugue already gives colorless weakness break, which would help that team out a lot too. This gives room to so many cool concepts too, like playing with break effect related DOTs. Like someone said under my first Fugue video, DOT as we know is a dead mechanic, even though Black Swan is really powerful and does some pretty good amount of damage and has a kit that is absolutely perfect for DOT. It's just that DOT still doesn't have a dedicated support yet. Combining these two, there's obviously something there. Break DOTs are honestly quite powerful if you build your characters with enough break effect. Budo's Blade DOTs, when he breaks a target alone, can deal hundreds of thousands of damage without any DOT buffs. A unit dedicated to break DOTs not only would make Ruan Mei even better for DOT, but also merge two metas together in a way which would be pretty fun. Also, I think DOT shouldn't be centered around Kafka only, as there should be more than a couple teams you can play around when it comes to a certain playstyle. I mean, look at all of FUA, Hypercarry, and Super Break. They all have multiple DPS units and team comps. Maybe Kafka should be the only one that directly detonates DOTs, but maybe Cypher, who's coming soon, could deal with a DOT X entanglement playstyle that wouldn't exactly be useful with Kafka, but would use all the other DOT units. Maybe instead of requiring constant detonation like Kafka's playstyle does, it starts tallying up DOT stacks when you break an enemy, and when their turn begins and they take entanglement damage, they would also explode with a bunch of DOT damage. That would be cool. Then we could also get another DOT unit that's more traditional that works with Kafka and makes her better. Hits per action is also a frequently talked about thing, especially when Honkai is mentioned. We all know he hits like 5 billion times per attack, and he even buffs himself up based on a hits per action mechanic. An HPA support would be pretty good for Dill. Let's say it's like the Sunday situation here. Sunday is really insane for the Remembrance meta, but he also makes Jing Yuan really good. An HPA support would come out that makes the new DPS unit or a new group of DPS units really insane, but would also boost Dill up a bunch and make him great again too. There will also be some sort of HP based meta in 3.1 and 3.2 with Tribi, Maide, and Castoris. Tribi is of course a Quantum Harmony unit, and Maide and Castoris are going to be her most prominent subjects. They're going to deal with HP draining mechanics, and lots of people are talking about Blade and Jingliu finding use out of these mechanics. However, I don't see it benefiting Jingliu anywhere near as much as it would benefit Blade, because the amount of HP Jingliu steals from party members is pretty negligible. Still though, Tribi is also rumored to be an AoE support as well, so we may see some use with Jingliu still. Since we already have insanely powerful single target units in Fei Xiao, who also revived her own fair share of units, or just Topaz I guess, we could also see Tribi reviving a bunch of old AoE units by buffing up AoE damage directly. Although I have said it before, indirect buffs aren't really a solution, they're just a band-aid on a broken leg, and to make Jingliu and Blade great again it would take more than just a best-in-slot support that's still probably more useful on the new DPS than it would be with older units, because it just keeps the same power creep status. When the new DPS is so much better than the old DPS, there is no reason to use the new support with the old DPS other than you really like them. When it comes to niche metas, there's also the subject of 4-star units as well. I already made a video about 4-star units and how there's only 7 units in Starwell that are currently widely used. Something I didn't talk about enough in that video was how 4-star units could be used to activate more niche playstyles as well. Misha and Preservation March are 2 examples of units that freeze pretty well. A freeze meta would be pretty fun as it could remove the need for a sustain by freezing enemies instead of healing, just don't allow them to attack type of playstyle. It could also work with things like Dot. Maybe we could get a character that when they freeze an enemy target, they freeze the DOT stacks on them or double them, or another unit that could make freeze damage pretty significant. This can definitely be something they capitalize upon in the future. And that's it, just a quick video about niche playstyles. I think there is definitely an imbalance of metas currently in Starwell, so it would be great if it became more versatile. This would slow down power creep a whole bunch as well, because instead of continuously making units that are better than the unit before them, it would instead incentivize side grading in favor of different playstyles and mechanics that all have upsides and downsides. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and join the Express Rain Discord server for a community filled with discussions just like this one. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.